In The Villains of the Void, I gave you a brief overview of people that made my life harder than it needed to be. In this episode, I'm going to talk about the adult man. There were a lot of adult men that were around me when I was a child. This is the adult man. This is the one who did the most damage. I have been trying to record this episode for weeks now. I'm so proud of myself that I'm doing it right now. Even though it's hard, I feel an intuitive nudge. I know that the time is now. Welcome to the Plumb Podcast. I'm Rosalee.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Plumb Collective. Let's start from the beginning. I had a bad feeling. I didn't want to go. I went back and forth saying that I would go and being like, no, I don't want to go. It was on a school night. It was a couple hours away. There were many reasons why we shouldn't have been at this concert, but we went. When I was 16, I met an adult man at a concert. He knew I was 16 and he pursued me. My two best friends had their own favorite band. One, her favorite band was Everclear, and the other's favorite band was Lifehouse. For some odd reason, Lifehouse, Everclear, and Matchbox 20 were going on tour together. They really wanted to go to this concert. I didn't particularly like these bands. The music was fine. I was with my friends. They weren't my favorite bands, but it was still a good time. I was dancing and singing along. My hair was curly and wild. When I was dancing, I felt someone behind me in the crowd. And throughout my childhood, my mother would sneak up behind me. It was very obvious to me when someone was watching me from behind. I am highly tuned to that and sensitive to it. I felt that feeling in my body and I turned my head around when I was dancing. The person that was looking at me was the adult man. He was very handsome. He smiled really big at me. In very short order, we started making out at this concert. We exchanged numbers. I was on the bowling team in high school. I actually lettered in bowling. Later that weekend, we were at a bowling meet out of town and we were staying at a hotel. I talked to him on the phone for the first time. On that call, I asked him how old he was, and I told him how old I was again. Because of my childhood, because of my history, because my mother had encouraged me, forced me to have relationships with older men, his age wasn't a red flag to me. The fact that he was living an adult life, had his own apartment, had a job, was fully on his own, and I lived with my parents in high school, did not have a job, and had just gotten my driver's license. None of those things were hindrances to this man. They were all bonuses, benefits. He lived several hours away. The concert was at a distance for both of us. I was there with my friends. He had gone to the concert with his best friend. We were making out all night. He wanted to see me right away. He lived the town over from where my father's other children lived. That was just a random coincidence. The first time I went out with him, my parents were okay with it because I was staying the night at my father's children's. I was there that weekend. I barely saw my quote-unquote family members. I spent the entire time with the adult man. Right away, he was obsessed and wanted to see me again, drive to see me after school. It was never really discussed with me or with my parents. He just moved to my hometown and moved into my house. He did secure a fake apartment, a place that he could tell people he lived. His family was very religious. He wasn't supposed to live with someone before he got married. So he needed to have like this fake apartment so that his mom, even though he was an adult man, he didn't want to disappoint his mother by living with someone before he was married, which we did end up getting apartments together. He did disappoint his mother. I'm going to give some backstory about the adult man. When you know his backstory, It makes sense why I felt compassion for him, why I tolerated some of his behavior, was because of his history. He was raised in a cult, a religious situation. He was homeschooled, but that homeschooling was in the basement of the church where he was doing worksheets by himself. He was a musician. He got attention for how he looked, that he could play guitar, that he was physically fit. Part of the cult, girls couldn't wear pants. Education was not important at all. There were things about his personality and his upbringing that definitely played into how he treated me and why he felt that it was appropriate to treat me the way that he did. The fact that he did not have a high school experience, and high school was so important to me. School dances. I was the class president all 4 years. I did hall decorating. I organized things for student council, very involved in school. The fact that he did not have that experience, it's so sick to me now, but as a child, as a 16-year-old, I felt like, oh, he gets to have a do-over. He gets to experience what it's like to be the normal child as an adult man. Dating. He was dating a child, a teenager. I felt like I was giving him life experience that he never got to have. Ugh. Part of his religious upbringing, he wanted me to accept Jesus and experience different things, and so he wanted me to go to his church with him. The adult men in the church had an issue with me immediately based on how I looked, how I dressed, the fact that I had, facial jewelry and wore makeup and didn't wear undergarments. Like, it was an issue. They stood over me yelling about the Bible, repeating Bible passages, calling me all kinds of names, blaming me that I was tempting him and the other men. How I looked, how I carried myself, how I spoke, everything about me they had an issue with. The father of the adult man's best friend turned out was doing some things of his own. I felt it. I knew it right away. I sniffed him out immediately. The hypocrite started talking to me, trying to scold me and tell me what to do. I read them. I told them what I felt about them. I told them what I knew about them. I told them what they were into. At 16, I'm so amazed and proud of myself that I had the wherewithal and the power to do that, but I had been doing that my whole life. One thing that protected me as a child was my intuition, my ability to read someone and tell them things about themselves that scared them. How would I know what you like to look at when you're by yourself? I could smell it on them. I could tell what they were into, what they wanted, and I used it against them. I understand why they wanted to do an exorcism, but it was messed up. It wasn't okay. I should never have been put in that position, or really any of the positions that I've been put in my life. Other people have made my life so much harder than it needed to be, and so much weirder. It's like, get out of here. It was so unbelievable in the moment. Thankfully, I made it out without being indoctrinated into that cult and dealing with the religious aspects of it. I stood my own. I freaked everybody out. So they didn't want me to join. They wanted me out. That's the thing that really stands out to me, is that the adults around knew that I was a child, knew that this man was an adult man, and no one was upset about that. Nobody was trying to stop our relationship because it was harmful to me. The only people that were trying to stop our relationship were trying to stop it because they felt like I was harmful to him. It's so important that we believe ourselves, that we tell our story to ourselves. That's why I'm doing this, to tell my story to myself so that I can hear it. Hearing myself say this in this moment, I'm going like, I could have easily believed them. They were adults in authority. They were men of the cloth. They were people that other people believed. Other people took their word as scripture. I took one little whiff of them and knew that they were hypocrites. I knew what they were into. They wanted to burn the witch. I got away from them because they were afraid of me. That is how I protected myself a lot. There's not much that turns these predators away. There's not much that turns them off. But if you can freak them out, they'll run away. They'll hide from you. This man stepped away from his old life, his church, and moved into my childhood home, into my bed, which was a twin bed in the living room of the house. My parents walked in and saw us in bed together all of the time. One night, late at night, my mother walked in, and instead of stopping what was happening to me, she smiled and said that she liked seeing his butt his cute little butt in the air. There were no doors. There was no privacy. It was a trade-off. Because the adult man moved into the house, my mom stopped walking around without clothes on, which was such a relief to me. I was so thankful to him for that, but the trade-off was being controlled by the adult man. The twin bed that I had, it's weirder and weirder and weirder. The layers of weirder, it's weird. But the twin bed that I had, the bed frame that I had, was a vintage hospital bed, a metal hospital bed with railings and cranks at the foot of the bed that would put up the feet or put up the head or raise or lower the full bed. It was super heavy. We got it at a thrift store. I don't know how we got it in the house. He would put the railings up on the bed. I wore a ring that had his name engraved in it, and he wore a ring that had Rose engraved in it. So not Rosalee, not my name. He called me Rose, which is my mother's name. He took his rose ring. He would tap his ring finger on the metal railing of the hospital bed to summons me from the kitchen or from the bathroom. I remember specifically one time being in the kitchen with my dad, talking to my dad, and the adult man tapped his ring on the bed. My dad stopped talking and he goes, "You're being summoned, like you have to go." And I was like, "Finish what you're saying to me." And he's like, "Well, I don't want him to get mad." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Well, he's controlling you." What kind, if you believe that that's true, why are you helping him to control me? The adult man lived in the house with my mother and father and me, no doors, one bathroom, for less than a year, which I don't know what he told himself to make this okay. I don't know what my parents told themselves to make this okay. The whole time it felt weird to me. It didn't make sense. He wasn't being asked to pay rent. He wasn't asked to do things around the house or help out in any way. He just moved in. He just was there, eating the food, using the water and the electricity. My entire life, I was made to feel like I had to pay to live there. Like I had to work. I had to put in effort and be okay with whatever was happening because we had to pay the bills. So for this guy to be able to just be there and do nothing also really pissed me off and didn't make any sense to me. My parents would make jokes about the man that lived upstairs who was doing things to me, that he should have to pay more rent because of the extra things he was getting. But this man they let move in and sleep in the bed with their child for nothing. The payment that I think that my parents got from this was my mother really enjoyed when I was in distress. She also didn't want to put effort into anything. She had no motivation at all. I think for her, she got to witness me in such distress 24/7 and she didn't have to lift a finger. I think for her, it was an ideal situation. Even though she didn't like this man, he didn't like her, they didn't get along, they really didn't speak to each other. It was very uncomfortable to be in the same room with both of them. There was tension always. And my dad just didn't care. Like, he just didn't care. He like couldn't have cared less. He just did not care. He thought that the adult man was an asshole. He called him an asshole. He thought that he was controlling me, and yet he didn't do anything to help me, which is consistent with my father's behavior. He saw my mother and did nothing really to help me until I couldn't breathe. Then he would say, "Oh, Rose, leave him alone, like, stop." But it was so passive and nothing. I didn't expect my father to protect me or help me or advise me, or he just was there, but he wasn't. There was no qualities about him that were like a father, like a dad. He just was there. To be in this house with my parents and the adult man was uncomfortable. It was strange. At some point early on, the adult man being in the house, he picked up a video camera that was just sitting around and started recording me. Recently, a comment on TikTok revealed something to me that I believe is true. I've always wondered, did my mom and the adult man have the conversation? What are the odds that he would have started recording me in the same way that my mother did? Okay, there were cameras around and he picked up the camera and just started recording me. The comment I received recently really helped me to see it more clearly. I believe that the first time he picked up the camera, he noticed how it affected me, how it made me squirm, how it made me uncomfortable, and he loved it. He loved it. My mother and the adult man did not get along. They did not like each other, but they had a lot in common. Their most favorite thing was to see me in distress, to see me upset, to see my facial expressions when I am scared. They found it thrilling. It energized them. The worse I felt, the better they felt. I have so much evidence of this. When I watch the videos back, I see how much I'm trying to suppress my emotions in my face. I'm trying to not give them what they want. Mentally, physically, spiritually, psychologically, and sexually, in every possible way, he tried to destroy me. He lied to me constantly about things that didn't matter at all. He lied about being allergic to carrots for like 3 years. It's like, for what? For what? Like, literally for what? Just to lie. My mother trained me to tolerate this mistreatment. It felt like love. It felt familiar. It felt like family. It was obsession. The adult man was obsessed with me. He couldn't get enough of me. He tried to isolate me from my friends. I feel like I'm reaching the end of my ability to talk about this for today. I mean, there's so much. It took until my mid-20s to be free of this man, to not be contacted by him anymore. He continued to reach out to me after he married someone else. His obsession never ended, but I was able to get free. The last thing I said to him felt like a spell. It felt declarative and powerful. When I said it, it knocked the wind out of him. He literally had to brace himself and catch his breath. He said it's the meanest thing anyone has ever said to him. I'm so glad I said it. There's things that I said to my mother that now, looking back, I'm so proud of myself that I was able to say it in the moment. Thinking about these men of the cloth, these hypocrites, the fact that I was able to stand up to them, to get in their face. When they were shouting, I whispered, who they are to them. A gift of intuition is to be in the moment, to be present, to feel deeply, and to express those feelings in language. Like a caged animal fighting for its life, when these people pushed me to the limit, I fought back with the only thing I have, my knowing and my words. The fact that my words could knock the wind out of someone, have to brace themselves against the wall. My words had grown men running from me. I know I'm powerful. I know what they felt was attraction, was my essence, was my soul, was my spark. Instead of seeing me as a child that was deserving of protection, the adults around me exploited me. They tried to take my spark and my energy for themselves. My words protected me, but the damage to my body had already been done. The adult man and how he treated me destroyed my body. He is who I hold most responsible for the complications that I experience today. There's a direct line right to him. This is intense for me. I didn't know if I could even get the words out of my body. I'm going to watch this back. I'm going to use the concepts that I teach inside of the diner to witness myself in this recording. And then I'll record again and I'll share more about the adult man. Right now, in this moment where I just said it all, but I haven't heard it back, I haven't witnessed it, I don't know what I actually said, it feels disjointed. It feels like, what? None of this is even going to make any sense to anybody. It's not linear. I'm missing so much of the story. There's so many things. The adult man did so much that was so wrong. We've barely scratched the surface. The fact that I am speaking about him at all, that I am recording myself, is healing. It's me following a nudge. However it came out, whatever I said, whatever I didn't say, I can try again. I can push record again. I can talk again. I can talk about the adult man. I can tell my story to myself. I can witness myself. I can hear what happened from a new perspective. I can heal, and so can you. I'm sending you so much love, and I'm sending me at 16 so much love. I'm so proud of that person. I'm so happy to reconnect with them. Not being able to speak about the adult man, which was my choice. I needed to make that choice. When I cut him out, when I refused to speak about him, I also cut out all of the ages of me that was with him. I'm ready to reconnect with those versions of me. I'm the adult that I needed at 16. Now I get to listen to that person tell their story. I get to be the love and support and comfort now that my 16-year-old self did not have back then. They didn't have an adult in their corner, but now they do. I can do it. You can do it. You don't have to share it publicly. You can do this privately. I'm sending love to all of our 16-year-old selves. I love you, and I'm proud of you. When you've had a hard life, it can be scary to consider healing. You're seeing me at a point in time on my timeline that is proving that what I've created works. I'm recording myself, and I'm sharing those recordings with you. That was impossible for me at the beginning. That was the thing I was the most afraid of, the thing I thought I would never be able to do. So the fact that I'm here recording this and sharing it with you means that what I created works. I knew that I needed something that was safe because I had never experienced safety. It's what I was trying to find. Is it possible to create safety inside of yourself? The answer is yes. I'm currently doing it. I've been working on this for years now, and I will be doing it for the rest of my life. Everything that I've created is gentle and incremental. Everything has built-in support. Everything has built-in pep talks. How I speak to myself is how I'm speaking to you. It's life-giving and life-changing to feel your own support. I couldn't trust the people who claimed they loved me are the people who did the most damage to me. For me, there was no support system. Internal support and confidence that no other human being can give you but you. It's a common fear that you've forgotten and that it'll be too hard to remember it and that it'll send you spiraling or you won't be able to handle it. I understand that fear. I had it myself. And so everything that I made plans in place for that to happen. Like, I like to think of myself as an energetic doomsday prepper. Like, there was not a thing left unturned. I looked at everything. I picked it all up. I turned it upside down. I looked at it from every angle. And I've created free resources so that you can see it for yourself in that gentle and incremental way to see if it's something that feels right to you. The mirror is a 21-day drip course, so it gives you just a little bit at a time. Inside of each lesson, there is a pep talk. There's me talking directly to you. The support that I give you in the mirror and in Plumb Practice and in photo readings, in the diner, in clarity calls, I teach you how to support yourself. I teach you how to find internal safety. All that you need to do is push play. I've thought of everything. I'm not in the business of convincing people. My intention is to inspire you. For you to see my life, to see the proof of my life, to know that it is possible and that I made it fun. Like, I made it cool and interesting and fun and silly and lighthearted and light-handed, and it's not scary. My life has been so hard. Healing does not have to be hard. Feeling your feelings can be fun. This is not about going to the depths of despair. It's not about going to the root, the core of the onion. We go to the words that are right there, what's happening in the moment, because there's reverberations of the past. You can handle it. As your capacity expands, everything that I've created expands with you. I'm really good at this. And I made things that never existed before. If you're interested, if you're curious, if you feel inspired, you don't have to trust me, you don't have to believe me, and you don't need an external support system to participate in what I've created. You don't have to trust anyone. You don't have to rely on anyone. I couldn't, so I made something that you didn't have to. And if you do have a support system, if you do have people that love you, it's going to be great for you. You're going to love having this internal support. I was intentional that you can start anywhere. You can start and be scared. Just push play and have fun.
Tune in next week for a new episode of the Plumb Podcast, where you'll hear a new conversation unfold from a new starting point. The conversation will be different, but we will always express ourselves authentically, and we create the space for you to do the same.